All right.
Okay, let's get started with the Saturday morning workout. Like Wednesday, we'll be doing the same set of exercises, which is great if you were there because you could reinforce good movement patterns with those exercises. And you will be needing a set of dumbbells. That's it. And with that, let's go ahead and get into some butt kicks here. Nice and light on the feet. Good warm up. Let's bring our arms up, but keep the butt kicks coming. Just hold them up nice and high. Keep trying to keep them lifted. They are going to want to fall forward. So just drive those arms kind of back. Keep them straight as you can as well. Let's do some jumping jacks. Try to stay nice and wide on those arms as well, so they're not kind of coming forward as you're doing your jumping jacks here. We'll do a couple more, and then a step back overhead reach. Let's do one more here. Good, and then we'll step back, bring the arm up. Keep the arms nice and straight here too, as you bring them up overhead. There's going to be a little swing through the arm because we are kind of moving at a good clip through the warm-up, but continue to control the movement as best you can. Feel, and then go right back to butt kicks. Sit nice and light on those feet. Heart rate should be up a little higher here. That's good. We'll do those jumping jacks here in a second. A couple more here though. And then how about some jumping jacks? Try to keep the arms nice and straight. Maybe exaggerate the size of the step too. So with how wide you're going, maybe a little wider than what's comfortable. That'll more engage those abductor muscles, those out of the hip muscles, just slightly more as you do those side steps. We'll do a couple more here, and then once again, step back, overhead reach. Do two more. 1, 2, good. Step back, overhead reach. Now bend the back knee as you step back as well. Obviously, you're pulling those abs in, but if you bend that back knee, you'll really enhance the stretch that you get through the low spine. So just something to think about. Abs in, pull those arms back, nice and straight. Bend the back knee. Couple more here. Let's do one more on each side. And then high knees now. We'll drive those knees up. We still want to get that heart rate coming up just a little bit. Way up, at least again, hip height. You know that. Drive those knees up. Let's hold a squat and then reverse arm circles. Feet can be slightly turned out. Pull the abs in, tuck the hips under slightly, and then bring the arms open. Not too quick on the shoulder flexion here. I want you to really feel the muscles through the upper back muscles engage. Kind of through here. See if you can engage those muscles, sense those muscles. They're contracting, they're shortening. And that is what's helping open the arm while staying really as up forward as possible when you're going around. So try to make the circle as big as you can. Not like this, but really exaggerated here. Let's do one more on each side. We'll do some high knees again. And high knees. We'll do one more set of that squat with the little shoulder flexion that we were doing, and then we'll get into the series. Today is actually a pretty challenging workout, or this week's exercise is actually pretty hard. I was thinking about that. They're hard because the movements are very global. Let's go ahead and hold that squat. Global and then reverse arm circles. Global meaning all the major muscle groups in a lot of the exercises are engaged, and that's really what makes the exercises as difficult as they are. So just acknowledge that some of the movements today are challenging, but they're challenging because of all the mechanics that are involved. Your shoulders, your arms, your legs, et cetera, et cetera. Let's do one more on each side here, and then we'll get into it. So just a bodyweight exercise. We're gonna do a little crescent lunge hold. I'm gonna have your right foot forward here first. Make sure your feet are forward in their lanes, and then we're gonna be abducting the arms. Go ahead, join me. So as I abduct my arms here, as you abduct your arms here, it's important not to let the arms fall. You're gonna notice as the arms come up, they're gonna wanna start diving forward. This exercise also is a perfect illustration of my point, challenging. This is because, again, working through the shoulders, working through the upper back, working through the core, and obviously through the hips and legs, just holding the position. So got a lot of movements like this today. Just do your best as we get through them. Now, as we abduct our arms up here, got about 20 seconds yet. I want you to continue to try to straighten the back knee. You'll notice it's starting to bend a little bit. Continue to push it back. What helps with that is by pushing down hard on the big toe. The other thing that pushing down hard on the big toe, here you've got 10 seconds, is that'll help to prevent the eversion of the foot. Let's go ahead and do one more here. And then we got a prone Superman. So it's a tough combination. We're on our stomach here. Arms are gonna be flexing up overhead as your spine extends off the floor with your legs together. Go ahead, join. I do want you to hold for about a 2 count once you get to the top. and then you'll be back down on the floor. Lift up, lift as high as you can. You're trying to point your toes as you drive your arms up and straighten your arms. Give me that little extra effort at the top of the movement. So you'll get to here and you'll be like, okay, this is really, really hard. I don't want to go any higher. That's fine. What I want you to do is try to straighten your elbows and point with your toes ever harder at the end, and then release it. Yes, it's as hard as it gets. I acknowledge it, but you really want to enhance that muscle contraction at that end point range of motion. That'll increase your strength, but it'll also increase your nervous system's tolerance for stretch through the shoulders and through the hips. So please do that. You get to the top here, point harder through the toe, reach your elbows, and then relax it. You got 5 more seconds, so 1 more here. Up, reach, point, and relax. Let's go on our feet. Left side forward now. Doing that crescent lunge with shoulder abduction. And so I must acknowledge, even when I'm doing the Superman there, that spikes my heart rate up big time. And that's my point. It's a full body movement. Even though you're not moving really, really far, it's a very global movement because of the demands of all the muscles that have to be involved to just do. Hard on that toe, you are straightening the back knee. Pull your abs in, and then make sure that your hips are square. You probably don't have a mirror on the side. If you do, great. But then you want to see that your hips are running perpendicular with the wall to your side, or so square, or square in front, so you're facing me. And then as we abduct here, make sure that the shoulders sit down. They don't shrug up. Because they shrug up, the arms are going to fall forward. So you need to keep the shoulders down as you lift the arms up overhead. Let's do 1 more here. And then we've got a reverse plank. Hold this for a second. Go ahead, relax that. So reverse plank, or you can do a bridge. We're going to be holding either position. Let me show you the reverse plank here. If you got reverse plank in your workout stack, join me. Otherwise, you are down like this, pushing your hips up. Now I'm going to stay here, but regardless of which position you are in, a couple things you need to be thinking about. I want you drawing your abs in as you try to tuck your tailbone under. So think about it like if you had a tail, you're going to tuck your tail under. So opposite of tilting, it's tucking. So draw your abs in, squeeze your glutes to tuck that tailbone under as you push your hips up. And again, if you're in a reverse plank, the same cues with the hips are involved. You're still trying to draw your abs in as you tuck your hips under. You got 15 seconds here. And then as we shift up to the upper body here, if you're in the reverse plank, squeeze your shoulders back as you pull your head back. It's really, really tough to do. You have to have a lot of shoulder mobility to get in this position, but this is where we want to finish. Let's go ahead and come out of that. We're going to be back on our feet. Right foot forward on that crescent lunge with the back leg nice and straight. So we are here, pulling the abs way in as we abduct up this time. Here we go. Again, draw those abs in. Make sure the head is not falling forward on this as well. You might notice the head wants to kind of fall forward as the arms come up. Again, I acknowledge that. It's really, really hard. If you have tightness through your upper back, through the neck, this becomes almost impossible once your arms get to about this position. For you for now. I mean, it doesn't mean it's impossible forever. This is why we're doing these exercises. But it's going to feel like you're blocked. Like literally, I can't get my arms any further up. And that's fine. Just take it to that point. Hold for perhaps a second. And then let the arms come back down. Perfectly fine here. We got 15 seconds. Let's continue to go. Again, pushing down hard to the big toe, now on the left foot as you straighten the left knee. Draw the abs in, make sure your hips are square. Keep your shoulders down. You got 10 seconds here as the arms abduct up, not letting them fall forward. Arms fall forward, your head's going to fall forward. Let's Superman. Here we go. I'm going to show you face on. So we're down on our stomach. Arms come up overhead. Remember, at the finish point, right here, point your toe, reach your arms, reach them, and then back down. I know that's obnoxiously hard, but that's what I need you doing right now. Point your toes, reach your arms, and then lower back down. It's really going to engage all the upper back muscles. And then that'll translate down the spine, into the hips, into the legs, again, all the way down to the toe. So tight as you lift and reach, and then back down. Lift, reach, back down. I got 20 seconds here. I'm going to finish these up with you. Ten seconds. Reach. We're going to do 1 more after this one. Okay, last one as high as you can. Don't shallow your range of motion. Up. Reach. Good, down. Okay, on our feet. Yes, that's difficult. Left side forward. Crescent lunge hold. Abduction of the arm. Here we go. As we abduct up. Again, I'm not holding on to dumbbells, so you don't need to either on this one. Try to keep your wrists straight. Heck, you can even see my hands. They're a straight line. Again, I'm continuing to work on that myself, making sure that my arm joints always stay stacked, particularly when I'm doing like overhead exercises. That's why I cue that so much with clients, with you, is again, obviously it's going to stretch through the whole chain, through the arm, but it's just a good habit to have. We're getting away from that breaking of the wrists, which is just so common that I see people do. Anyway, as we hold here, 20 more seconds, pull the abs in. Let me show you from the side so you can see. Again, you should have the same plane with your arms as with the back, as with the leg. Pull the abs in. We're gonna go 5 more seconds here. Let's do one more. Last one here. Nicely done. Good. And then reverse plank. So our last exercise of the little series, you can do the reverse plank. So you're the height here, pulling your abs in, tucking your hips under, head back. Or you're holding that bridge position. Same cue, push your hips up, but tuck your hips under, pull your abs in. Squeeze your glutes, obviously. Squeeze your glutes in both of them. Now, if you're on the floor like me right now, make sure your shoulders are back and down, and you feel your head, back of your neck, actually nice and flat. Because of how your body, your torso is inclined off the floor if you're doing a bridge position, it's actually a decent opportunity to stretch the cervical spine. You can see that because I'm able to drive my arms really far this way, and that lift is causing flexion through the spine, which should actually help to release that lower cervical spine, that trap muscle, if you can keep your shoulders flush and that way. Good, come out of that. We're gonna be on our feet. Grab your dumbbells real quick. We have a hinge hold with shoulder extension. I'm gonna show you from the front here. So with dumbbells in hand, hold the hinge position, arms flexing back into shoulder extension. Back down, go ahead, join. I'm gonna show you from the side here. So as you can see, my legs are pretty much perpendicular, vertical with the floor. And then as I flex up, I am gonna get my arms above the plane of my spine. That is the goal. But the goal is to get the arms above the plane of the spine without that occurring. Now, again, this is a big exaggeration, but see if you can start to tune into at what point with the arm lift, do you notice you want to lose tension through the upper back, which causes the shoulders to go forward. Every person has an endpoint range of motion is what I'm getting at, even me. So as I were to come here, at some point when my arms go up so high, it is going to cause an internal rotation. For me, it's kind of like here. My mobility through my shoulder is pretty good, but you can see the higher up I go, I just actually roll forward into that protraction of the shoulder and anterior, which I don't want you to do. We've got 10 seconds here, so just continue to go. But as you lift, you've got to think about squeezing the shoulders back. Really, really focus on it. Squeeze the shoulders back. All right, standing tall, a little abduction to flexion. So, excuse me, I had that reversed. Flexion to abduction. All right, begin. So as you open the arms up, keep them nice and straight. When you finish this position right here, hold for a second, and then cut to the sides. So I don't want you shaving the corner here as you're doing this. So oftentimes, I hope you can see me in the frame, people kind of make like kind of a soft circle. I don't want you doing that. I want you to do a very boxy lift. So as your arms come up, keep your arms straight. Don't let the elbows bend. Keep your shoulders down. Once you get to this finished position, hold for a second. You're tight. And you straighten your elbows, pull your shoulders down. Make sure your low back doesn't arch. We'll talk about that in a second. And then come wide on your arms. But again, you have that box at the top. You are not rounding the corner. Why? Because you're holding endpoint ranges of motion. That's important because you're maintaining an intense muscle contraction in a very lengthened position. And trust me, I know this is harder to hold than this. And that's why I'm asking you to do it. 10 seconds here. So as you come up, keep your elbows nice and straight. Keep your shoulders down. Pull your arms back. Don't arch your low back. And then come wide around on the arms. Very nice. We're going right back to that hinge position. I'll show you on the front. Join me now. So into shoulder extension. So pretty straightforward series. I actually really like this series because it's taking our arms or our shoulder joints, that capsule, ball and socket, through all ranges of motion. You have extension, obviously abduction, and then flexion. But right now, I'm focusing on extension. You should really, really be thinking about the upper back muscles, particularly the shoulder blades. You're able to get more tension through this movement than any other arm and shoulder movement I can give you. So take advantage of that. As your arms pull back here, yeah, you have 3 pounds, 5 pounds, heck, maybe you have no pounds. It doesn't really matter. I want you to overflex your muscles. And from a strength standpoint, if you really think about it, what actually causes your muscles to get stronger is just flexing them. That's it. It's just muscles contracting. As you contract muscles, you produce force, tells your nervous system, hey, I got to get better at this because I'm doing a lot of it. So as you're doing an exercise, regardless if you have 5 pounds or 500 pounds, just overflex the muscles. It will get you stronger. Stand tall with me. I'll show you from the side here so I can talk about that low back here. So as I abduct my arms up, I make sure flex my arms up, I make sure not to arch the low back. So again, this is an exaggeration. You probably don't quite look this extreme, but if my low back arches here, you can see my shoulder joint is not fully open. It's not 180 degrees. Again, this is an exaggeration. Watch what happens with my hips. As I pull them out of an excessive forward tilt to a neutral hip position, look where my shoulder is. You can see it's really not open. Even though here, right, it might look more open, but that's because I'm opening the shoulder from the extension of my low back. No bueno, you don't want to do that. You got 20 seconds. So what we want to do is keep that low back nice and flat because you're squeezing your inner thighs, you're squeezing your glutes, and you're pulling your abs in. So you got that nice flat back. And then with that anchor, you really can pull the arms open. And look, you can see my shoulder and spine, they're 180 degrees. This is the goal. And obviously don't forget going wide and around your arms. Let's do one more here. Right here, draw those abs in, up and around, and down. You got it. Now we got push-ups. Here we go. Right from the side, I'm going to get right into it. Again, so toes or knees, choose your vice and begin. I'm going to continue to talk. So as we do the push-ups here, again, whether you are from your knees or you're from your toes, doesn't really matter to me. What matters is the form or the mechanics that are happening at the shoulder joint. Keep pushing, obviously, I'm out of it. So as you're doing a push here, I'm just going to show you face on. I know you're looking down, but if you can see here, you can see 45-degree shoulder angle as I'm pressing. Why? Because it makes it easier for you to engage the upper back muscles, those rotator cuff muscles, to keep the shoulders down. So when you push, it doesn't look like this. I don't want that, right? You just even intuitively know if I hold my shoulders here, it looks ridiculous. It doesn't look right, doesn't look healthy. This does. So when we exercise, particularly a strength exercise like a push-up, you'd want to intuitively look at the exercise and say, hey, that looks right. And when you see someone do a push-up this way, your intuitive bells go off and say, oh yeah, that person looks like a strong, I don't know why, but the shoulders look good, they look strong. And that's because mechanically they're in the right position. So you do push-ups, just think about that, shoulders back and down. Come out of your push-up, you got a corpse pose. We've got an active corpse pose with your arms behind your head. So with your legs forward in their lanes, toes facing up, you're obviously flexing the feet. I want you to bring your arms back. Now keep your arms as straight as possible. And the arms are trying to go right along the sides of the ears. So we're going to cue this from your heels all the way to your hands right now, because I know that will be helpful. I want you to flex your feet and reach through your heels towards the wall away from you. Then what I want you to do is try to pull up on your kneecaps by flexing these quadricep muscles. That will release the back of the leg. Then squeeze your upper inner thighs together, but don't lose the feet, don't lose the quadricep muscle, and really pull your abs in. Then try to get that low back nice and flat to the floor by tucking your hips under. Don't forget about anything down the chain. It's tough to do. Then with your abs still drawing in and those hips in a neutral position, I want you to squeeze your shoulders back and down. But don't arch your low back as you squeeze your shoulders back and down. So really pull those abs and flatten yourself to the floor. How about those heels? Keep reaching towards the wall. Then with your arms, keep them straight. Straighten those elbows and bring them close to the sides of your body. Don't forget about your low back. Go ahead, let that go. We've got push-ups. We got round two. We get a second opportunity of that, so don't worry if you weren't perfect. You have plenty of other opportunities to get better in time. So as we do push-ups here, you can see my head is not falling forward. So I'm actually, as I'm doing the push-ups, I'm actually feeling the muscles through the traps and the back of that cervical spine, holding my head back. And I want you to as well. Even if it feels like it's almost impossible to keep that head back as you're doing a push-up, it's fine. Just continue to try to draw it back. That's really important because as you're moving your shoulders here in a push-up, what's happening is you're contracting the upper back, but you're stretching through the neck. And if you think about standing, it's much the same. We don't stand like this. So why would we do push-ups like this? Well, we don't. We do push-ups with proper mechanics of the shoulders, head, and neck. So just something to think about. Obviously, I'm just addressing more shoulders and neck today in this workout. Could be doing hips or legs or otherwise, but just things to be thinking about as you're doing push-ups. Okay, so let's slide back onto the floor. So we are flat. Again, reaching through your heels. Make sure your feet are square. They're not everting out. Then again, driving through those heels. Pull up on the kneecaps to tighten those thigh muscles. So again, knees up, drives the quads nice and tight. Squeeze the inner thighs together. Pull the abs and tuck the hips under. Don't forget about the heels. Then with your arms obviously back, I want you to pull your shoulder blades down without arching your low back. Tough to do. Again, keep the abs drawn in. Squeeze the glutes. Now with your shoulders back, I want you to straighten your elbows because they're probably bent. Straighten them. As you straighten your elbows, what happened to your shoulders? They probably shrugged. Keep your shoulders down as you straighten your elbows. Don't forget about your abs. Pull them in. How about those heels? Probably already figured out about the heels too. So reach the heels. And then again, going back to the elbows, make sure they're straight. Pull the shoulders down so you can really feel the back of the neck to the floor. Your head should not be here. It should be flat. And then if you can, last thing, I want you to see if you can get the back of your wrist flat to the floor. Yes, it's possible. And go ahead, let that go. Nicely done. So we're going to be on our feet. We've got a standing dumbbell overhead press. So grab your dumbbells, standing nice and tall, up, and away. Get a full range of motion here. I'm way back so you can see here. Just standing nice and tall. So the cues, coincidentally, are actually the same. So I could cue quite literally the same way through the kinetic chain, minus some of the arm stuff, the elbow, but the wrists, yeah. But essentially, I could cue very similarly from what you were doing on the floor as how you're standing now in a shoulder press. So let's just go through that. As you're standing tall here, get your weight back on your heels, push the heels into the floor. I want you to pull up on your kneecaps and tighten those quadricep muscles and squeeze the inner thighs together. And make sure you draw your abs in as you squeeze the glutes. Why all these cues? Because they tug on the lower part of the spine, causing length. But at the same time, all that tension will build strength down the kinetic chain. Then from here, make sure that the abs drawn in, your arms are flared nice and back, your head is back as you press up. Try to get a full press without shrugging the shoulders. Let's just do 2 more here. And then the last one, hold just for a second for me. Try to get those elbows nice and straight, shoulders down, elbows straight. Go ahead, let that go. So we're going to be at hinge position again, but this time now to a T fly. So we're going back with the arms. We're doing more of an abducted arm. Go ahead, join me now if you haven't already. Now, keeping the arms nice and straight, or excuse me, yeah, keeping the arms straight, keeping the legs straight too. I want you to think about the arch of the foot right now. So if you have a tendency to like to supinate on the foot, I don't know if you can see my foot down here, but my feet supinating, meaning flopping open. If you have a tendency to do that, when you hold hinged positions, this is a hinge position, it's actually a particularly good opportunity to strengthen the medial side of the foot. So you can think all of the muscles on the inside, the medial side of the ankle, and again, that works up the chain. It'll even work to strengthen through the adductor muscles, so these upper thigh muscles. Just 10 more seconds here. So just really, really think about that. If you are a tendency to really kind of supinate out, when you hold hinged positions, again, this is a hinged position. I want you just double effort, focusing on pushing down hard on those big toes and feeling the arches of your foot. All right, we're gonna come out of that. We've got a prone extension exercise. We're going to keep our legs down. They're going to stay out of the equation on this, but have your heels together. Don't let them separate. You can also tie into what I was just talking about. So if your heels separated there, you're going into a prone spine and shoulder extension. So it'll look like this. And you can lift your arms a little bit. Keep your arms nice and straight. Your arms will be tracking right along the sides of your body as you lift. If this is too much, if it's like, how? You put your hands here to lift, okay? And then try to put as much of this tension, much of the stress through the upper spine, and the least amount of weight load into the hands if you have to use your hands. So again, if you're here, it's fine, no foul. But just try to be as light as you can, so eventually there's no arms needed as you're going into extension, okay? And then lift, all right? And then back down. So just find what works for you. Lift, hold, back down. Got 10 seconds here. Let's do 1 more. And good. Let's get on our feet. We've got the standing overhead press again. I'm going to continue to talk about this. Let's talk about that low back right now. So as you're doing the shoulder press here, you'll notice when you get pressed up, when you get towards the top of the movement, your low back likely wants to arch. Why? Because you're actually trying to offset the stretching that would otherwise occur at the shoulder and cause an anchor so that the shoulder joint doesn't have to open as much. And you're basically putting tension that you would otherwise have through here. So the opportunity to strengthen your back through here is being transferred down the chain into your low back. And this is why when you do a shoulder press, it's so critical not to let the low back arch, because it offsets where tension should otherwise be. You should be building more strength through here, but also you're not actually opening the shoulder joint completely, because it doesn't have to, right? My arm is able to maintain that vertical position if I just arch my low back, right? But if I get rid of that arch, you'll notice the shoulder joint, I didn't move the shoulder joint. The shoulder joint closed, seemingly, didn't really close, but I got rid of this joint, so the arm fell forward. So you're not fully stretching the shoulder is my point. Let's go ahead and come out of that. Let's do a little hinge hold with the T fly. So come nice and wide. And again, on this one here that I see often is that as people, I'll show you from the side here, as people lift up, they think they're at a 90 degree at the shoulder joint. It's kind of hard to tell, but your arms are actually quite a bit more closed. Not the end of the world, but again, the idea here is I want to really work the back of the delt. It's that posterior deltoid and the upper rotator cuff, supraspinatus. A really, really hard muscle to target. Not very many exercises do. This is one of them. So as you come wide, it's important that, again, you're not closing the elbow, but you're staying really wide at that 90 degrees. But the big but is you're not letting the shoulder capsule come forward. You're not losing the scapula because it's going to affect the neck. So again, you're here, drawing the abs in. You got 10 seconds. Nice and high and wide. Let's do 1 more. You got it. And then back down on the floor. So we've got that little prone extension. By the way, the dumbbells are optional on this one if you do want it, but the other 2 were definitely dumbbells. So here we are, and then lift. I get those arms up nice and high. So as you're doing this, really focus on squeezing of the shoulder blades, but as you squeeze the shoulder blades, the shoulders are going down, back. They're not squeezing here. Different exercise. You're squeezing back. And then if you can lift without losing the shoulder, please do so. Again, lift, hold, back down. Now as you lift too, make sure that you are keeping those heels together. You'll notice, I want you to try this for me real quick. Lift as high and as hard as you can. And everything you got. But you'll notice that the heel separated. I need you to keep the heels together. So as we're contracting through the upper back, you're actually trying to cause a stretch down the chain through the lateral chain. That's what's occurring here, but you're causing your heels to stay together. That's really hard to execute, but just work towards that. Get as up as high as you can. Wedge the heels together. Go ahead, let that go. So we're going to be on our feet now. You can set the dumbbells down. So just a standing forehead to the knee. We're going to do the left side here forward first. We're going to go 30 seconds on each side. So it shouldn't be too terrible. And as we go here, what I want you to think about doing is pull the abs in. Make sure your feet are in a square position. And with this left leg forward right now and your abs drawing in, I want you to push the left hip back because your left hip is probably forward a little bit. Just 10 more seconds. So as you push that left hip back, try to round to that spine to get that forehead to the knee. Go ahead, come out of that. Let's do the other side here. So right here, just like so, round and forward. Now again, make sure the legs are forward. Now because my right leg is forward, I'm going to want to push my right hip back slightly. Otherwise, my right hip is going to come forward. It's going to obviously change the position of the pelvis, and it's going to change the way you stretch through that lumbar spine. So the more neutral you are, even though the leg is staggered, if your pelvis is square, because the muscles attaching to the pelvis and spine, and that all stays square, then the muscles themselves have to stretch. They have to release. But if you change your bones, just shift your bones into the incorrect position. Go ahead, come out of that. We're going to do the other side already. If you shift your bones, you're changing the way the muscles are pulling on those bones, which is changing the way you are stretching or not your muscles. So again, as you're in this position, toes face forward, pull your abs in, make sure the hips stay nice and square. Try to get that forehead to the knee. If you need to bend the knee, you need to grab the back of the leg to help kind of support this position. Let me show you from the side here. We just got 5 seconds on this side. So if you need to be here, that's perfectly fine. Let's go ahead and do the other side. But if you've got great range of motion through the back side of your body, go for it. Again, get that forehead to the knee. Totally fine. But if you're getting the forehead to the knee, make sure that that right hip stays back. I see people get too vigorous with this. They're like, gotta get my forehead to the knee. But they end up canting so much through the pelvis, it's like, it's not really the same stretch. So again, try to stay as square as you can here. You got 10 seconds. And then get that forehead to the knee. Pull the abs in. Go ahead and let that go. Let's grab a quick drink of water here. And then we've got pendulum lunges. We are going to be using dumbbells for this one. So good challenge coming. Okay, so here we go. We got a pendulum lunge. Hands are going to be at your shoulders. We're going to start with the left leg anchored the entire time. So I'm going to do this from the side here because I'm kind of limited on space. So you'll be stepping forward with the right and stepping back with the right, but never moving the left. Go ahead, join now if you haven't already. So as I'm stepping here, again, I want you focused on pushing through the heel. I don't care which foot is forward. Obviously, my right foot's forward right now, but I'm still pushing through the heel. As I step back, obviously my left leg is now forward, but I'm still pushing through the heel. So try to make it nice and smooth. And the other thing to think about is not having to tap the foot between lunges. So a little balance act, that's good for you. Make sure when you're doing your lunges, let me show you from the front here, that the legs are staying forward in their lanes. You're not like crossing the legs. You're not going out wide and back. They're just forward and back. Now, obviously, I'm holding my arms here, imagining I have dumbbells in my hands. You obviously don't, but that is the idea. Keep your arms open, keep your palms facing forward. We got one more in each direction. I'm going to switch legs. We're going to continue to move. So now anchor the right leg down and moving through the left. Make sure you're taking a big enough step, particularly your forward lunge. Make sure you are taking a big enough step so that you can still remain through the heel. I do see this a lot on this one as people step forward. They don't take quite a big enough step so that the weight just actually has to go through the toe. Not the end of the world, not going to hurt you, not going to kill you. But the emphasis right now is through the heel of the foot because it'll engage the hamstring muscles, it'll stretch the hamstring muscles, and it'll turn on the glutes slightly more effectively. So just push through the heel so we can accomplish those things. I'm going to show you from the side here. You got just 10 seconds. Continue to move. But again, nice and upright. I am through the heel of the front foot. Let's do one more in each direction. And lucky you, we're switching sides. We got 4 minutes of lunges here. Yes, this is a lot. You'll be fine. But now moving the right leg. And as you're stepping, I am so limited on space. Now, as you're stepping here, it's real important that the arms remain nice and upright. So you'll see my chest is nice and broad. Hopefully yours is as well. But you want to keep the back nice and flat too. So just holding the weight here. Keep lunging. I'm going to step out of it. Just holding the weight here is exercise. Why? Because your arms want to do this. I know they do. They want to fall forward because these muscles don't want to stay contracted, obviously, for 4 minutes with 3 or 4 or 5 pounds that you have. But that is the goal. It's to be able to maintain that strength endurance through the upper spine as fatigue sets in. You got 10 seconds here on this right side, and I'm going to switch sides. I'll keep lunging here with you. But again, if you're able to buffer fatigue for longer, mechanically, you're less likely to hurt yourself really ever. Let's go ahead and switch sides. A, because you're aware of your own body, where am I in space? But B, you're also engaging the muscles properly around their joints. And so they're stabilizing those joints correctly. I mean, your shoulders here don't look like a very stable or they even look like a compromised position. And that's my point. The longer you're able to exercise and buffer fatigue with your shoulders in the proper mechanics, the better. So just something to think about. You want to continue to pull the arms back, keep the elbows right to your sides, keep the forearms open, keep your wrists straight. Even though you're holding on to those dumbbells here, keep those wrists straight. We're going to finish this up. We got 20 seconds. I know this feels like a forever minute, and it kind of does, especially as you're talking through the whole thing, but keep lunging. Again, pushing through the heel, making sure not to arch the low back. We're going to go 10 more seconds here. And we've got a bear hold with leg extension. Let's do one more in each direction. Last one here. And the form's terrible. And there we go. Okay, so set your weights down. We're going to do a little bear hold with alternating leg extension. So starting in the bear position, keep your shoulders over your palms. And then as you extend back, not arching the low back, point your back toe and then alternate sides. Go ahead, join. So as I'm reaching here, it's real important that the back does not arch or the hips do not pike. If this bear is too hard for you, drop to the knees. That's totally fine. And simply do your leg extension. Now you'll notice as you extend that leg, there's a certain point with once the knee starts straightening, the low back starts to arch. I need you to tune into yourself when that happens. At what point do you feel the knee straightening is causing that lumbar to arch? And that's your hip flexors, your psoas, and how that's affecting the contraction of the quadricep muscle. They are related. As one stretches, the other contracts and vice versa. So it's essentially what you're doing here. You're stretching through your hip flexors as you're contracting through your quadricep muscles. Can you tune in to when those antagonists start to affect each other? And you can start to notice that when the knee is straightening. At what point do you feel your low back being pulled on slightly? And that's my point. If you don't feel it today, totally fine. Not that big a deal. Let's go ahead and flip over onto our back. We're going to be doing the same thing, but now I have the traction of the floor. So with your flexed feet this time, don't point the toe. Just hands in the deadbug position and then extending one leg. So as you extend the leg here, go ahead, join. Make sure that the legs stay in their lanes. So as I'm extending my right leg here, it's important that my right toe does not turn open, obviously with you as well. And I want you to continue to reach through your heel. The other thing to think about is make sure that the feet don't supinate. So it's a little thing, but even as you extend here, extend this leg, there's a good chance that the foot itself will supinate. So it'll kind of bow open or bow out. You want to resist that. As you do that extension, make sure that even the ankle joint itself stays square. So if you were to put a board on your foot, the board would sit flush to the bottom of the foot the entire time as you do these throughout. Make sure that the shin stays parallel. So another little thing that I see often is as someone extends a leg here, the shin totally drops. I don't want that. I want you to keep the shin up. Again, I don't have a mirror, so I'm kind of guesstimating myself. And I don't have a trainer cueing me, but I think that's about parallel, and that's my point. I want you to keep, let's do one more on each side. Keep the shins parallel, regardless of where you are, regardless of which leg is extended. All right, let's go ahead and flip over. So now we're back to the bear position. And I'm sorry, we're doing the arms instead of the legs. So with your knees down on the floor, we're going to be alternating our arms. We're not hovering here. My knees are definitely down. I mean, you could try with your knees hovering. I wouldn't recommend it. But as you're doing your shoulder flexion here, I'm going to show you face on so you can see. As you do the shoulder flexion here, it's really important that the torso does not rotate open, particularly the shoulder that's opening. So I'm on my right arm here right now. As I lift my right arm, a couple things. Your right elbow is going to want to bend a lot. Your wrist is going to want to bend a lot, but the whole shoulder itself is going to want to rotate. That's the spine rotating. Rather than, I'm going to do the left side now, rather than keeping the spine square and forcing the back of the shoulder even through like the lat, the serratus, through these muscles, and then you have the back muscles contracting, forcing those muscles to be doing the engagement versus this, which just isn't so much. Let's go ahead and flip onto our back. So starting that dead bug position, but now the same thing with the arms. So essentially what we're doing through this series here are two identical movements. One has you facing prone, the other has you supine. We are now what's called supine. But regardless, your body mechanically, head, neck, spine, hips, they should be in the same position regardless of which direction you are. And if you're having a hard time, say holding the position when you're in the prone, so like that bear in particular, try to use these exercises, these supine exercises here as a reference point to how you should feel, how your back should be placed, how your head, neck, and shoulders should feel. Because I know this is a lot easier to hold than a bear with some sort of leg extension. So as we're going through here, we're going to do one more on each side. We'll go through the series again. Let's do one more here. Just try to commit to memory what this feels like right now, because you have an opportunity to do it, but requiring a little more strength in the process. So as you're in the bear position, we'll do that leg extension. Now with the leg extension, again, try not to rotate through the hips as those legs lift up. Try not to pike the butt up. Again, I see that a lot on this because your quadricep muscles, because your ab muscles, they're like tired or they're just too weak to keep the hip down. If that's happening to you, right? So you're doing your leg extensions. I know you don't have a mirror, but just see if you can sense if you're doing this, right? If you're doing this, drop to your knees, please, so you can do a more supported and work on the proper mechanics of the hips and spine as you go into leg extensions. If you got the strength and you can do this all day, great, do it all day. But as you go through, make sure the legs stay square, pull the abs in, the butt stays down, you're not arching your low back. Let's do one more. You got it. Now flip onto your back, hold that dead bug position, but now with the legs extending, flex the foot, shoulders back and down, try to keep the shins parallel. Again, why shins parallel? Because it's going to force this quadricep muscle to stay on. You can feel that, right? If you just do this as you extend, try it, drop your shin down. You'll notice this muscle's off versus this. It's like, oh, it's kind of on. That's my point. So just try to keep the muscle engaged, even though it's not moving through that range of motion. Keep the feet flexed. And again, you are reaching through your heel. So it's okay to flex your foot on this one. You could flex your foot kind of vigorously because you will feel a little stretch, maybe perhaps behind the foot, the Achilles tendon into the calf muscle. That's cool. Likewise, when you stretch this leg, if you tighten the quadricep because you're pulling up on that kneecap, you'll actually release the back of the hamstring and the calf muscle slightly. So you can kill a couple birds in one stone with that by just pulling up on the kneecap, because that releases the back of the leg. Let's do one more on each side here. And then we're back on all fours, but now with the arms. So here we go, got kind of quadruped position, and then alternating arm lift. Now as you lift here, you're gonna notice your arm wants to go wide. The elbow wants to bend and the wrist wants to bend. I need you to start tuning into that and correcting for that. Yeah, we're not using any body weight, and you don't even need any additional weight. Your body has all the resistance that you otherwise need to fight against. And you can feel that. I mean, literally in movements like this, it's like, who needs dumbbells? I just have to raise my arm. It's like, holy cow. And that's my point. Keep your shoulders down, keep your elbows straight, keep your wrists straight, and lift. I don't care who you are. It's like, this is hard. It's hard to hold this. And you are over-flexing muscles to hold your bones mechanically in that position. So take advantage of the stretch. Take advantage of the strength. As you contract your shoulders down, you straighten your elbows and you lift those arms. And it's like tight. It's hard. And hold for a second. Let's do one more on each side. We'll be on our back. Right here. And then last one. Good. On our back. We'll do the same thing with the arms, but now we have the traction of the floor to help us out. That's kind of cool. So here we are. Make sure your legs are square. The legs are in their lanes. Your feet are flat. With your straight arms, they are just simply flexing back. So it should look like so. Keep your shoulders nice and down. Pull those abs in. Really pull those abs in. Good. Now as the arms go back again, continue to try to bring them right along the sides of the head so that they're not going wide. You're going to see that a lot, but you're going to release to that lateral rotator cuff thing right through here. That is really going to get a nice stretch if you can keep the elbow close to the side of the head. So those bicep muscles kind of graze right along the sides of the head as you do so. Let's do one more on each side here. And then we've got a half moon. Last one. You got it. So on our feet here, we're going to do a half moon. We've got 30 seconds on each side of this. We'll go through 2 rounds. I want you to bring your arms up overhead. So as you clasp your hands, pull your arms back, but make sure your low back doesn't arch. We're going to go to the right here first. So stretching the left side of the body. So as I'm doing the half moon here, I'm going to stop right here. A couple things I want you to think about as you're in this position too. Squeeze your inner thighs together. Make sure your feet are together and your feet are not supinating, so your ankles are not flopping open. It actually starts from the floor on this one. So with your feet nice and flat, squeeze your legs together. As you push your hips to the left, one last thing I want you to think about is pull the arms back. Pull them way back. Let's do the other side. So now again, with your legs squeezed together, inner thighs squeezed together. Keep your arms nice and straight. Arms should be right along the sides of the ear. And now we're pushing our hips to the right. So as you push your hips to the right, likely what's happening is your right hip is going forward and your arms are going forward. That is mitigating the stretch through the lateral flanks of the spine, which is what we're trying to do here. You got 10 seconds. So what I need you to think about as you hold in this position is push your right hip back and then pull your arms back. That'll pull the right shoulder back. As you hold here for the last 3 seconds. And go ahead, let that go, okay? Just shake it out real quick because we're going to do the other side. So bring your arms back, squeeze them right along the sides of your ears. Pull your abs in as you squeeze your inner thighs together. And now push your hips to the left. As you push your hips to the left, make sure your arms stay straight. So you can see my underarm here. I'm able to keep that straight. What I'm doing here is I'm using the strength of my underarm to help stretch the left side of my body. So now we're going to do the same thing, but on the left. So what I want you to think about is with your left arm right now, let's go to the left here, is you're going to keep it straight. It's really hard to do, I acknowledge. Keep your left arm straight. It requires a lot of strength, but this straight arm will help to stretch the lateral side of your left body. You get 10 seconds here. What's going on with the feet? How about those inner thighs? Have you pulled the abs in? Pull the abs in. Can you squeeze the glutes? And then pull your right arm back. Go ahead, come out of that nicely done. So we're going to grab some dumbbells. Wherever they are, I'm going to grab a quick drink of water here. And we've got a little split squat. Split squat with abduction. The left foot will be forward here first. We're going to hold a little split squat position for a minute. So once you're here, palms facing forward, arms abduct up. And begin. So as we do this, I want you to have a bent back knee. We'll square on with the camera here. So I want you to have a bent back knee. And you are pulling those abs way in with that bent back knee. By you bending your back knee and drawing your abs in as you work through abduction here with the arms, you're getting that nice length through that lumbar. But at the same time, it's going to force the strength through the hips and the glutes. I want you to take advantage of that. Squeeze your glutes. Pull your abs in. As we abduct the arms up, you got 10 seconds. Make sure the head and neck don't fall forward. Got to keep those arms nice and wide in this sagittal plane here. Let's do one more here. And good. Come out of that, we got standing overhead press. So we're just going to hold dumbbells up overhead. Doesn't look all that challenging, but for a minute, this is actually quite difficult because what I need you to do is weight on your heels, push down on your toes, pull up in your kneecaps to tighten those thigh muscles, squeeze those inner thighs together. And that'll make you as tall as you can to the lower body. And with those glutes on, those abs drawn in, I want you to pull your shoulders down, pull your head back, straighten your elbows, pull the arms back. Make sure the wrists are straight. Don't move. You get 10 seconds. Keep the arms going back. Why are they falling forward? How about your low back? Don't let the low back arch. Pull your abs in more. Squeeze your glutes. Now draw the arms back. Draw them back. Draw them back. Elbows. Good. Go ahead, relax. We got the right side now. So here we go. Bend the back knee. 90 degrees. Abduct the arms up. That's good. So again, a little full body series here. We're doing isometrics for the lower body as we move through the upper body. So as you hold this position, remember to continue to bend that back knee. As fatigue sets in, yes, you're going to want to start straightening the leg. Why? Because it creates like a kickstand effect for the hip. It's much easier, and this quad doesn't have to scream at you. I want your quad muscle screaming at you, which means I need you to have a bent back knee, so please do that. With your bent back knee, I need you to push down on your big toe of the back foot. Do that as well. That'll prevent that external rotation and the turning of the hip. Yes, this makes it harder, but please bend your back knee and push down harder on that big toe. Then from here, squeeze your glutes, draw your abs in. Make sure your head stays back, spine is as lengthened as it can be. And then with your arms straight, wrists straight, that means your elbows and wrists, keep them straight. We're abducting up. This is tough to do. Let's do one more. Finish it up. And we are standing with perfect posture. You may as well hold on to your dumbbells. So with your feet 6 inches apart, weight back on your heels, push down on your toes. I want you to pull up in your kneecaps to tighten this vastus medialis. It's essentially what that cue does. And pull up on the knees, this muscle engages right here. Vastus medialis, it also affects the other quadricep muscles. So then from there, squeeze the upper inner thigh muscles. Squeeze your glutes. Make sure your shoulders are back because your shoulder blades are back with your hands. If you're holding on to your dumbbells, reach your hands towards the floor and then counter that with the head up towards the ceiling. Don't forget about your heels. So literally from this joint, or from the crown of your head all the way down to your heels, as lengthened as you can be. Just continue to hold this perfect posture for about 20 more seconds. And what about those abs? I'm sure they could be in more. How about your glutes? If you pull your abs in, you can squeeze your glutes, squeeze your inner thighs. Without bending your knees, your lumbar is in as lengthened a position as possible. And if your shoulders are back and down, you're reaching your hands towards the floor and you're countering with your head towards the ceiling. Yeah, that upper thoracic and cervical spine is as lengthened as it can be. That's good. Let's come out of that. We got the left leg forward here. Abduct, bend the back knee, nice and tall. And then arms flex up. Arms do not come forward. So as I'm doing this and I'm looking at you, I can't see my arms in the peripheral. Now, if you can, it's fine. Totally fine. But part of the strength and stretch effect from just doing these movements is in time, you won't see your arms in the peripheral of your vision because of the added range of motion. So your nervous system gave you tolerance, your brain gave you tolerance to move this way. That's all that happens. So that's what we're working towards, is just improving your brain's ability to control its muscles. Like, hey, I can bring my arms up overhead. There's no pain, no additional pain, and the movement is fluid and it's free. So that's what we're working towards. With your arms nice and straight, shoulders back, draw the abs in, squeeze the glutes. You get 10 seconds here. I know it feels like a forever minute, but just work through it. It's certainly worth the effort. Let's go one more here. And then we're going to hold those arms up overhead. Yes, it's tough, but super good for the shoulders and upper back. So from here, just imagine my arms are up overhead. I am back on my heels. Pulling up on the kneecaps. Don't forget about those toes. Push down on those big toes. Squeeze the inner thigh muscles. Then squeeze your butt. Then pull your abs in. You pull your abs in, you squeeze your glutes so your low back doesn't look like this. That's not how I want your low back to look. I want your low back to look like this. Right? How you get into this position is here, it's here, and it's here. You can strengthen all of that lumbothoracic, kind of like this canister, if you will. It's essentially what gives you support to even like move up and down the kinetic chain. So then from here, you're flat back, get your arms back, keep your shoulders down. Get your arms back, keep your shoulders down. Get your arms back, straighten your elbows and your wrists straight. Hold. Don't lose the low back. How about the knees? I can feel my knees. This is where I come up with these cues. This is why I actually think of the cues. It's because as I do the exercise, it's like, oh, I feel that. So just knees back, arms back, shoulders down, head back, abs, let it go, right side, nice job. Here we go, bend the back knee, draw your abs in, squeeze your glutes, and up. By the way, I know, even for me, it's effort. It's actually quite a bit of effort. I can get to the range, I can get to that range of motion, I can get to that point, but it's not effortless. It's not like, oh yeah, I can do this for 10 hours. I wouldn't want to. It's tough. It's always very difficult. That's actually one of the kind of nice things about bodyweight exercises is, like I've said, the intensity. And so as your range of motion improves, the exercises, they maintain intensity because you just go further, or you contract the muscle harder because you can feel it better. You can engage it better. So you can continue to make improvements for a really, really long period of time just doing literally bodyweight movements. I've certainly found that to be true with myself. Let's go 10 more seconds here. Continue to keep that back knee bent as you squeeze the glutes, pulling abs in. How about the elbows? How about the wrists? Because I can feel they want to bend on me. So I'm assuming they really want to bend on you. So again, focus on elbows straight, wrists straight, shoulders down as you flex up. Let's do one more here. And then we're going to stand with perfect posture. So go ahead and match me right now. Standing tall, feet forward in their lanes. Weight back on your heels, push down on your toes. Pull up on the kneecaps to tighten the thigh muscles. Squeeze then the inner thighs together. Now squeeze the glutes. Draw your abs in. And with your hands at your sides, palms facing forward, reach them towards the floor. But as you reach, don't let the head come forward. I know you can feel that a little bit. As you try to pull your arms down, your head wants to kind of come forward. Counter that. You're trying to actually stretch the back of that cervical spine, that neck. So as you reach down, pull the head back. But as you reach down, make sure the shoulder doesn't come forward. Yes, there's so many things to think about, but they all lend themselves to lengthening your kinetic chain. So with your shoulders back, squeeze together, reaching the palms down, reach the head, crown of that head up towards the ceiling. And just hold. Don't forget about your legs. Don't forget about your heels. You're back on those heels. Tight knees, because you're pulling up on those kneecaps. Feel those thigh muscles. Squeeze them together. Squeeze your glutes. Let's go 5 more seconds here. go ahead and let that go. Set your dumbbells down, nicely done. We've got a little Chinaman squat rock. So I'm going to show you, this is the correct form. You just hold this. It releases the back of the hips and the spine. It's wonderful for you. If you're not there and you are here, that's fine. Find what works for you. As your mobility through your hips get better in time, you'll be able to get into this position, and actually it feels quite wonderful releasing through all of the posterior muscles, really of the backside, lower half of my body. And this is what we want to eventually be able to get into, where you could just squat, no pain, nothing. Just it feels normal, feels natural. And again, that's stretch tolerance. That's your brain teaching your muscles, hey, I can improve range of motion. And why was it painful to even just stretch my muscles? So just doing these exercises routinely, consistently will help to just improve these things in time. We've got 10 more seconds here. So continue to rock wherever you are. And if you're a little lower because you're a little wider, that's fine. Again, just match what feels right for you. You can kind of rock around a little bit. All right, so we're gonna be on our back now. You got a prone dual leg lift. So flat on the floor. So I do want to do this with your legs starting on the floor as you lift up. If this is too much, because the start position is from the floor, do one leg at a time, please. If this is still too much, you're going to do it with a bent knee as you lift. So you'll see how I did that. So I dragged the heel up slightly and then lifted. But again, find what your strength looks like through the lumbar spine. So as you're doing your leg lifts, regardless of whether it's one leg or it's two legs, or it's a heel slide up the floor and then a lift, what you're really thinking about is strengthening through the lower abdominal. So as you're kind of bracing, pulling the abs in, I want you to squeeze the upper inner thighs together. This is particularly true if you're lifting both legs. So as you get tension through the inner thigh and you draw the abs in, you're supporting through that lumbar and the back of the hip stretch correctly. Try to keep your legs straight if you're doing the one leg or two leg variation, unless you're doing that heel drag that I showed you. Otherwise, focus on heels together, ankles together, low back nice and flat to the floor on the leg lifts. You get 10 more seconds here. And lift. Again, the tighter you are through your hamstrings, the tighter you are through the back of your hips, the harder this exercise will be. So even if you have perfect mobility, it's still hard because your legs weigh a lot. So even with that, if you have additional tension, we're going to come out of that. We got a corpse pose. I'm just going to continue to talk. By the way, this corpse pose, let it go. I don't care how you fought. Just literally just let it go. Just relax. But as I was saying with the leg lifts, obviously lifting a leg is heavy. I don't know how much your leg weighs, but it weighs something. If you have additional tension because your muscles don't have good stretch tolerance, so like this is really hard to get to, well, yeah, you're lifting a leg plus you're overcoming your own mechanical resistances. And that is what essentially we're trying to address through these workouts, because we're limited, just to body weight stuff in a lot of cases. So if we can get rid of this extra resistance that you otherwise have in your movement, then you're just moving your body. Yes, it doesn't mean it's like effortless, but you're not fighting yourself plus an exercise. Just something to think about as you continue to kind of work through these movements here, right? It's to get rid of all this stretch resistance that you feel, so that when we move, you're not fighting yourself to move. It's just like, oh, I can feel everything. It's a nice range of motion, and I can feel my muscles contract the way they're supposed to. And again, that just takes time. But if you're not there yet, continue to just practice these exercises, practice these movements, because they do release tension, given enough effort, given enough time, enough consistency with it. We'll go about 10 more seconds here. And then I want to go through the little series one more time. And just relax right now. You're just letting tension go. Let's go ahead back to Chinaman squat rock. Again, find what works for you. The goal eventually, you have your heels together, your butt would be down, your back would be nice and flat. I've talked about this before with some people. I think I even issued this on Wednesday. So this position here, if you can see my body, you can see my spine, is no different than this. Quite literally no different than this. Now, when I'm on my feet, mechanically, a lot of muscles are contracting that don't have to contract on my back. But really, that is the big difference. This forces some muscles to be stretched under tension. And if you have a hard time getting here, but not here, it's that your muscles will not tolerate stress, the stretch. They will not tolerate the tension of the stretch. And that is what we want to get better at, so that, your muscles can stretch under tension. But if you're here right now, just continue to work towards kind of closing everything in, keeping that back nice and flat. And as your nervous system learns to tolerate some of that stretch, you'll get there and it won't really be end of the world. Let's go and do those leg lifts. So we're now flat on our back. Keep the legs together as you lift up. I'm doing dual legs, so if you are doing one leg at a time, perfectly fine. Even if you're doing a drag and then a lift with the bent knee, that's also fine as well. What's most important is that the low back feels nice and flat to the floor. It feels supported. And I feel like I can engage pelvic floor muscles. I can engage my upper inner thighs as I do my lifts. So again, just find what works for you here. But again, the endpoint goal would be to have the strength to be able to lift dual legs together off the floor. But really, that's only going to likely happen when the back of the hips and the hamstrings release. Because if you've got a lot of tension through your hamstrings and through your hips, you're probably only able to do like 1 or 2 of these with good form. Because you're going to fatigue so fast because of all that tension that you have. Let's do one more here. And let's go, just let it go. So just let it go. However, if you want to flop open, however your arms want to flop open, that's totally fine. What I need you right now is just let the tension go and just relax. So relax your jaw, relax the back of your neck, relax the back of your shoulders, just relax your hands, relax your fingers, relax your low back, let it fall to the floor. If it's arching a little bit, just take some nice deep breaths, let it go. Let your feet flop if that's what they want to do, if that's their will. Just relax the legs, just relax. And we will call that a day. So thank you again for joining me today, this Saturday. I do plan on having a new series of exercises for next week. So hopefully you can join me then. Thanks.